Hi everyone, this is our research roundup for February 2023. So myself, Ellie, the social researcher at Fair4All Finance, and Neil, our consumer and insights manager, have put together some of our favourite pieces of research and data analysis from January. So why have we done this? So we think that there's a huge amount of really useful analysis that's regularly being published around the topics of financial inclusion, poverty, inequality. And so we thought by drawing out some of the really relevant points to our work and the wider landscape, we could help save our team time, but also pull together some interesting findings for people that are great partners for us and also for anybody that's interested in the work that we do. So the data and the research will always be from the previous month. So this is our February research roundup, which will include January's. So when we present our findings of February, we'll do that this month in March. So I'm going to frame this kind of all of the research and the reports that we found as being left in the dark. So we saw that recent announcements in the UK that we narrowly avoided a recession was welcome, but we also think it might be quite unwelcome news for the most vulnerable in society, following the harsh realities that were created by inflation that reached its highest level in 40 years. So inflation did decrease, but it is actually still highest for the lowest income deciles at around 11.7% compared to the richest decile of about 8.8%. And the Resolution Foundation suggests that we are only halfway through this crisis with 2 more years to go. The government's implementation of the energy price guarantee meant that Citizens Advice did report a decrease in the number of people on prepayment meters that weren't able to top up all the way back in October 2022, which does show us that targeted intervention does make a positive impact. But the respite wasn't really felt for very long, as the food price increases over the last 17 months ran in parallel, and food prices peaked in December 2022 at 17.6%. So every food product was 17.6% more expensive than it was previously. So Citizens Advice reported surging figures of 3.2 million people unable to find the money to top up their prepayment meter, which is a 229% increase compared to last year, which meant that more people in 1 year couldn't find the money to top up their prepayment meter than the last 10 years combined. And one in 5 of these people were literally left in the dark. So they had no gas or electricity to heat their homes or cook meals for more than 2 days. And Citizens Advice also broke more records, with record numbers being supported to access food bank and emergency grants. Credit cards hit a peak of 1.2 billion in November 2022 alone, which is the biggest monthly increase since 2004. But those on lower incomes do continue to have limited access. So figures reported to us show that high cost credit has also been declined for several years, and in 2022 home credit and high cost short-term credit were reduced just £400 million, but there's also been significant growth in credit union lendings. But for those that aren't able to use high cost credit after those tighter regulations I discussed before, it's really important that we try and understand what credit they're using now. And the recent Aberdeen Financial Tracker suggested 4% of UK adults are using illegal money lenders. And our very early indications from our own commissioned research is showing there is some criminal activity around identity theft and money muling. So there is a real financial and social support gap that we're hoping to acknowledge and change. But enough from me, I'm going to move on to the great research. So the first one is the UK Poverty 2023 report from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. And we saw that there was a really big ethnicity disparity, with 51% of all households headed by someone of Bangladeshi ethnicity finding themselves in poverty. And that was 42% for Pakistani or Black ethnicity households. We have our own research coming out about this soon, which understands the parallels of how ethnicity influences access to financial products. So keep your eye out for that. We saw that poorer households also have a higher proportion of their spending on unavoidable costs. And a fifth of people in the poorest fifth of households, so that's 17% of people, and a tenth of people in the second poorest quintile, around 9%, lived in a household where at least one person found debt to be a heavy burden. But it was, on the contrary, very rare for people in the richest fifth of households to find debt to be a heavy burden at about 2%. again, so we have our own research here, which is our banking response to COVID-19. And it just shows how important it is to develop and implement financial services and products that target the vulnerable, and the pace that this can happen during what we saw with the COVID-19 crisis. 76% of customers surveyed found their financial position was positively affected because of support measures provided by the banks, and payment holidays had the highest levels of satisfaction, with 87% satisfied or very satisfied with the impact on their financial situation. And this is one of my favourites from January, which was the ONS census release tool to build and understand local areas. So this is an excellent resource to help build, map and assess, and also export areas of interest. So at a really local postcode level, you can interrogate on topics like accommodation, central heating and household deprivation. So if you're working on a poverty and want to understand a particular area, this would be a great tool to use, and you can download the data, so you can append that to your own data and findings. So this is the very cool name of Isa Isa Baby from the Resolution Foundation. And the general overview of this report is that lower income families aren't being encouraged to save through different government incentives. And the issue of low savings is particularly acute for those on low incomes, with the lowest income tenth of families about 4 times as likely to have no savings compared to the richest tenths. And lower income families are also far less likely to have other sources of financial resilience. A proposal from the Resolution Foundation is that the Help to Save scheme is extended, the monthly saving limit is increased by about £50, and allow people who remain on benefits after the 4-year limit on the account, and that universal credit applicants are automatically given an account with £50 starting bonus. And then this is the last point that we're going to make today, and this is kind of more of a wild card, but it's from James Plunkett with the Joseph Browntree Foundation, who gives some food for thought around the importance of language, about reframing inequality to inequality, as well as assessing its form, history and texture to help us find the policy tools to reach for. And this quote from the beginning is the favourite quote for me from the whole essay, which is, "The more I grapple with big challenges in public policy, the more I think our language holds us back. We use the same words year after year, abstract nouns like inequality and consumer choice, even as the subjects of these words change beyond recognition." So I'm going to leave us all on that point, and look out for our research roundup for February, which should be coming out soon. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact myself or Neil at Fair4All Finance. Thanks.